Now here's a name that you might have heard before, Lonzo Ball, the Lakers' second overall draft pick back in 2017, a guy that's definitely had a rough go of it with injuries, dealing with everything from ankle injuries, knee injuries, so on and so forth, only playing a grand total of 125 games dating back to 2021, a guy that's been with the Chicago Bulls but has only played roughly 70 games with them in that 4-year time frame, but a guy that has plenty of talent and plenty of two-way talent at that, if he can actually stay on the court. And well, according to Jovan Buha, The Athletic, a team like the Lakers might be interested in a Lonzo Ball reunion, saying that, "I do think they would be. It's just a matter of what his price is, and you have to factor in the health and the history there with him. You can't even pencil him in for 60 games. And well, he definitely has a point here, but at the end of the day, many Laker fans still want him and would be very interested in a Lonzo Ball reunion. So with that in mind here, what would it take to get him? Is it worth it? Is he a player worth taking a flyer on? And what would that situation actually look like? We'll talk about it and try to break it all down here. But before we get too far into it, if you want more NBA content from me and clips from my main channel of the most important parts of my videos, then don't forget to check out JSM Clips. That's where I post exactly that, and if you want to check it out, I genuinely would appreciate it, and if you hit that subscribe button. But now getting back to our topic, and talking about Lonzo Ball and the player he currently is and hopefully what he can get back to. I mean, we're talking about a 27-year-old here after all, isn't too far along, isn't too far away from his prime, and theoretically should be in his NBA prime. I wouldn't say that he currently is due to working his way back from that knee injury and actually having a left knee meniscus transplant. The first time I've ever heard of that, and the first time I guarantee any NBA player has had that. But he underwent it and now is trying to work his way back to his previous form, which prior to this season definitely was a budding, maybe potential all-star. You know, maybe not quite to that level, but very close to it. Back in 2021-22, he arguably was a top 10, top 5 point guard, averaging 13 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, 5 assists per game, shooting 42.3% from beyond the arc, arguably being the best two-way point guard in the entire league, being an absolute menace on defense and a very good point of attack defender. So combining that all together, literally the do-it-all kind of point guard for your team, can play on the ball, off the ball, can be a primary point of attack defender that can take on difficult matchups, and even be a high volume, efficient 3-point shooter. So yes, there definitely is intrigue there with him. Whether you're talking about my opinion or anyone else's opinion for that fact, there should be intrigue with him if he can get back to being that kind of player. However, he definitely wasn't there quite yet in his return season during last season. In his 35 games that he did play, averaging roughly 8 points per game on a fairly inefficient 37% for the field and 34.4% for 3. Not terrible 3-point shooting, but definitely streaky. Did at least take about 5.5 of them per game, so is working his way back on his 3-point shooting volume. That translating to over 8 per 36 minutes, actually about 9 of them. So not afraid to shoot the ball, isn't hesitating, and I like that, but isn't quite as efficient as he once was. Then for his point guard ability and on-ball ability, averaging 3.3 assists per game, 1.2 turnovers per game. Pretty good, but also not quite as good as he was prior to getting hurt, and there definitely is some rust that he's trying to get off here yet. And then of course, can't forget to mention the injury history or the lack of games that he does tend to play. I mean, even prior to dealing with the knee injuries and the knee issue, only played roughly 55 games per season, and that's not very good. Playing only 35 games last season in his comeback season. So factoring that in here, and the guy that you would be trading for, definitely not a good bet to play more than 55 games in the year, even more than 41, half of the NBA season. So definitely do gotta factor that in here. But like we often talk about, injury history and simply a risk with a player can actually lower their trade value and make it easier to acquire them, which may indirectly help the Lakers if they do in fact want to trade for him. And then talking about trade for him and what it would take in regard to trade assets, it wouldn't take that much in my opinion. Now we obviously don't know for sure what the Bulls would want for him. They did extend him, likely in hope of getting a trade for him that would actually help their team out, which means that they likely want a draft pick. They definitely can't demand a first-round draft pick for him. Even a first-round draft pick swap would be too much in my opinion, but I would be willing to throw in a second-round draft pick with an expiring contract. And well, for that kind of trade, I'd offer something like Gabe Vincent, their 55th overall draft pick in this year's NBA draft, or maybe offer them their 2032 second round draft pick once they get it on draft night, and that could give them Lonzo Ball if they want to take that trade. Or if the Bulls are looking for more assets here, then maybe we could expand the trade, adding in a guy I've talked about like Jalen Smith, for example. Could be the Lakers' backup center, is a good backup center in general, can offer everything from rim protection, rebounding ability, averaging roughly 11 rebounds per 36 minutes last season, can play at both power forward and center depending on the matchup, even offers some 3-point shooting floor spacing ability, and be a decent vertical threat too, aka being a lob threat. So adding him in here would increase the overall salary and the money that it would take to make the trade work, meaning we'd have to add in both Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleber to make the trade work, then likely with a first round draft pick swap, giving the Bulls a little bit more draft compensation with that 55th overall second round draft pick from this year's NBA draft. And well, that to me would be a better way to make the trade work and more mutually beneficial for both parties here, giving the Bulls more draft compensation, then giving the Lakers an additional need for their team, a guy that would fill their hole at center, or rather backup center, maybe starting temporarily if they can't find a better option or make a different trade for center. They could get Jalen Smith here, a guy that could plug a gigantic hole for their team right now. I mean, at the moment, they currently don't have a true center under contract, so that's definitely a problem. Even give them some more leverage in trade negotiations, giving them the ability to say, hey, we currently have a center, we're not that desperate anymore, so you can't try to jip us in trades and try to ask the entire house for simply a guy like Nick Claxton. And then with that in mind, getting a little bit more reliability apart from Lonzo Ball here, taking the risk with him, but then getting a more reliable, healthy option with Jalen Smith. Then for Chicago again, giving them not only more draft compensation, but a little payroll relief too. Both Vincent and Kleber are expiring contracts, compared to Ball and Smith actually having 2-year contracts, and with the Bulls' financial history and being so cheap in regard to paying the luxury tax, that probably is pretty attractive to them. I mean, if I remember correctly, they've only paid the luxury tax one time in team history, and that's a team history including guys like Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Derrick Rose, and yet they've only paid the luxury tax one time. So yeah, that definitely is valuable to them, avoiding any long-term payroll issues, which they definitely do have with potentially having to pay both Josh Giddey and Kobe White this summer. So I imagine that would be valuable to them with that draft compensation. And overall here, wouldn't be opposed to a trade for Lonzo Ball. Definitely would like it more if Jalen Smith came with him, or maybe a guy like I would assume new. Definitely would like that as well. But simply put, I think Lonzo Ball is a great fit if he can stay healthy. And at the end of the day here, that's what it comes down to. Can he play more than 35 to 40 games? Will he be healthy when it actually matters most, aka during the postseason? Can he make it to that point? Can he play more than half the NBA season? Can he make it and actually be durable throughout a postseason run? Definitely a lot to discuss here with Lonzo Ball's overall health and long-term outlook. Again, I definitely would be interested in Lonzo Ball for the right price here, but it all depends on that price. If the Bulls meet them halfway and actually be considerate and realistic about it, trading him for probably an expiring contract and simply a second round draft pick, then I definitely think about it. Or expanding the trade with a guy like Jalen Smith again, for example, then could offer a little bit more draft compensation with Lonzo Ball, maybe a future first round draft pick swap with a second round draft pick, something like that, but it all depends on the way they negotiate and the price they demand for Lonzo Ball here. And well, with all of that being said, what do you guys think? How do you feel about a trade for Lonzo Ball? Do you think it would be worth it? What would the price be for him, and what would it take for you to trade for him? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.